The Carolina Hurricanes stayed alive with a big victory over the weekend against the New York Rangers. Zachary Martin of Locked On Hurricanes joins us to discuss what it'll take for them to get back in the series. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Carolina Hurricanes, Zachary Martin. And Zach, a big win for the Canes over the weekend to stay alive. What was the difference in Game 4 compared to the first three games?
Well, I would say you look at just how Game 4 was. The Hurricanes finally scored on the power play. 17 times the charm, and don't say otherwise. But it's just they got the one that was really needed from Brady Shea, his first of the playoffs, actually, which is good. So former ex-Ranger, kind of getting you that game winner very, very late into the third period, and that was kind of the difference. The fact that you saw the whole series, and the Rangers were at that point 5-0. A lot of their goals are coming on special teams. That's kind of what's been the thing for the whole series is whoever's capitalizing on the special teams opportunities usually is won the game. And the Hurricanes haven't been able to do that on the power play. They finally get it. They finally get that one that they need, and that was the game winner. And that's the big thing that really helped them out. And even then too, they got a big lead in the first period, up 3-1 after the first 20 minutes, and then the Rangers clawed back in it, but just kind of being able to stick to their game and not taking too many penalties. The Hurricanes only have one penalty the entire game, which is huge for the fact that you look at games 2 and 3, you're looking at almost 4 a game. Now you get one, so it's kind of helped the fact that it was a lot more 5-on-5 play, because a lot of people have been talking about the Hurricanes are a more 5-on-5 team, and that's kind of what we saw in Game 4. It was more of, all right, the Hurricanes, we're allowed to show their muscle a little bit and show that they are a good 5-on-5 team. That's one of the big things, but I'd say just finally capitalizing on the special teams, which was the game winner, made a big difference in keeping the series alive. Yeah, it's still a huge mountain to climb, because now you're still talking 2 more elimination games before you even get to Game 7. One day at a time, one game at a time at this point for the Hurricanes.
We know the Hurricanes were outstanding both on the power play and the penalty kill throughout the regular season. It was a big factor in their win over the Islanders in the first round. What have the Rangers been doing to disrupt that power play for the Carolina Hurricanes?
Keeping them in the perimeter. It's the thing that you saw in, if you want to go even back to 5-on-5 real quick, Steph Nason got a goal and it was net front. Brady Shea's goal that he scored on, it was a Seth Jarvis screen right in front of Shesterkin, and that's how he was able to score his goal. So what the Rangers have basically done this entire series to hold the Hurricanes up until that point, 0-for-16, is just keeping them at the perimeter, not really giving them a lot of chances to go on the inside. If you're talking about the Rangers, it's a team where you have to go inside, you have to crash the net, block Shesterkin's eyes, because if you're not screening Shesterkin, he's going to see every shot that comes at him, and that's why you see the Hurricanes are, as you know, Gil, a high volume shooting team. But and we see from the Rangers are quality over quantity, and the Hurricanes right now have been quantity more than anything else. When that's the Hurricanes are, they are a high volume shooting team. But if you're not screening the goalie or getting a guy in front of the net, you're not really doing a whole lot. So that's what the Rangers have been doing. Keep them out to the perimeter and not really getting them to go inside to get rebounds, screens, and getting those, as we all call it, playoff goals, those greasy goals right in front of the net. And like Artemi Panarin in overtime in Game 3, what was his goal? Right in front of the crease that he just deflected it in. You got to get those playoff goals. And the Hurricanes, unfortunately, right now weren't doing it on the power play, but Seth Jarvis gets that screen, Brady Shea scores from the point, and there you go. There's your power play goal, because net front presence is mainly the big thing. So that's what the Hurricanes need to do, is just keep getting guys in front of the net and start getting rid of Shesterkin's eyesight. That's all you really got to do at this point to keep it going.
Talk to me about the goaltending situation going forward. I mean, Frederik Andersen didn't play poorly early on in the series, but he wasn't as good as he was, obviously, late in the regular season and in the first round. How do you see Rod Brind'Amour handling the goalie situation going forward?
Yeah, because you see through the regular season, him and Peter Kochetkov were doing a lot of, they were just flip-flopping through most of the regular season, the last 20 games of the year until, the last game of the season where they went with Spencer Martin, because at that point, second was locked up. It wasn't really that big of a deal to go with the regulars and stuff like that, but you go throughout the entire playoff. Up until game 3, it was all Freddie Anderson right from the start. And, then Rod Brind'Amour and them said, the plan was just to give him rest for game 3 and go back to him for game 4. And you look at game 4, it wasn't the greatest game from him. He still made big saves when necessary, but there were a couple goals that you would wish he would get back. And it's just one of those things where, maybe just playing all those games is finally catching up to Freddie, and maybe it's time to go to Peter. And honestly, I thought Peter Kochetkov did good in game 3. It's just one of those things where the special teams didn't really help out, and it came to an overtime goal from Terry Panarin, and just the kind of the defense not doing what they needed to do, and the power play were still struggling at that time. So if you're going forward, I'd maybe start looking at giving Peter Kochetkov more time. Like I said, he played great in game 3, all things considered. What can you do with a deflected shot from Panarin in overtime? Like, that's nothing really you can put on him. Frederick Anderson's been playing okay to start the playoffs and even the start of the series, but I don't know. It's one of those things where you're kind of maybe it's time to go back to your backup who's been really good, and the fact that game 3 was his first game in over 3 weeks. If I was Rod Brind'Amour, and of course, no one knows what's going on in the mind of, a guy like Rod, but I would probably start considering maybe looking at Peter Kochetkov a little bit more to give him some more time on the ice and, let him see, what he can do and stuff like that. I mean, like I said, Freddie's been fine, but maybe it's kind of time to give the other guy a little bit more looks too than just one game just because you gave Frederick Anderson rest.
You mentioned Rod Brind'Amour, questions about his future in Carolina. What have you heard? What is the latest? And do you think he's back next season, regardless of the outcome of this playoff series and this playoff run?
I think regardless of how the playoff run goes, I don't see Rod Brind'Amour going anywhere. Like Don Waddell said it after the first round against the New York Islanders. They've asked him in press conferences that him and Rod have been talking every day. Don Waddell feels really good that a deal will get done. It's just, as he said in his quotes, it's, two parties have to talk about it and stuff like that. And the one thing that, just like the last time Rod Brind'Amour's contract came up was making sure his assistant coaches got taken care of, Tim Gleason, Jeff Daniels, and all that. And that's probably what the same thing is too. I've seen reports of like Seattle's been thinking about trying to go after him at some point. I know there was an article that came out recently, I think it was from like the Hockey Writers or something, that were talking about maybe Toronto was going to look at Rod Brind'Amour, but I'm still from what I'm hearing, they're going to try to get this deal done, because if you're, Don Waddell or Tom Dundon and stuff like that, you don't get rid of one of the best coaches in franchise history. Yes, Corey, Laviolette did win a cup for the Hurricanes and stuff like that, but other than that 1 year, it was all right with him. Paul Maurice went there a couple times, but if you're looking at a more consistent coach that the Hurricanes have had, Rod Brind'Amour has taken this team to 6 straight playoff appearances, 6 straight first round wins for the team. You don't want to give up a coach like that. And a lot of guys come to Carolina because of Rod Brind'Amour. So I don't really see him leaving. I think it'd be a very big mistake if the Hurricanes let him walk. So I think right now it's just they're focused on the playoffs right now, and that's how Rod is. Like, the contract will get done. I know a lot of people keep bringing it up because the fact that it's like it might be a distraction. I don't see it as a distraction. It's about taking care of business first, and then it's go win a cup. Contract will come after that and stuff. So I don't really see him leaving. I think he's going to be a Carolina Hurricane. It's just probably figuring out some really small details behind the scenes and, just kind of focusing on the playoffs right now, because that's the ultimate goal. Contracts will, they'll happen, but not every opportunity you get a chance to go get a Stanley Cup right now.
You mentioned go getting a Stanley Cup. What are the keys to getting back into this series? Obviously, as you said, one game at a time.
Yeah, that's all really it is. And Rod Brind'Amour said at the beginning of the season too, it's getting plus 1% every day better. And it's just, you got to take one game at a time and one day at a time, really. And that's what and Jordan Stahl said, Brady Shea, Jordan Martin, all those guys are saying it. Yeah, you can't win a series in one game, but you can just go one day at a time and go be 1-0. And I know that's what Brady Shea said. You go into that game day, you go 1-0, you move on to the next one, you go 1-0 that next day. And that's what the Hurricanes need to do. It's a tough, only 4 teams in the under-plus history of the NHL have come back from a 3-0 deficit. The last one to do was the 2014 LA Kings. And we all saw what they did. So it's just one of those things where it's you got to take one game at a time, one period at a time, and just keep getting 1-0 better every day and just keep getting that plus 1% better every single day. And that's just kind of what the Hurricanes need to focus on, is just take the momentum from game 4, take it into game 5 tonight against the Rangers in game 5, and just win that one. Then you worry about hopefully Thursday for game 6. So that's what you just got to do, is just take it one period at a time and go from there and just keep building on the momentum, and took what worked in game 4 and so playing it into game 5.
All right, Zachary, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Yeah, of course. If you want to find the podcast, it's LO_Hurricanes on X. If you want to look for me, I am at OneTrueZach on X as well, and I have a link tree in my bio where you can just find all my articles and where you can find Locked On Hurricanes and all that good stuff on that side on things.
All right. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you, Gil.
Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.